My name is Mary, and I'm going to be talking about the economic analysis of the housing market and the supply versus demand about the housing market as well. So in order to analyze the housing market, we're going to be talking about some microeconomic concepts, and we're going to mainly focus on the understanding of how supply and demand actually shape housing prices and the availability of housing and construction. We're going to also be talking about elasticity, the market equilibrium, and incentives that will be important to my analysis. So currently, housing prices are in a cycle called a super cycle, which means that they're going to continue to rise even though there are economic disruptions, such as a low supply of housing, low market turnovers, and a strong demand in housing, which is essentially what creates this environment. Demand shocks, which means a rising demand for homes and low availability in supply, which is caused from limited construction, means that there's going to always be a demand in prices, and this will cause prices to rise. So in 1950, house prices were stable, but after World War II, various factors like increased urbanization, infrastructure improvements, and government-backed mortgages drove prices up. Limited supply elasticity, which is caused by zoning regulations and limited construction, also contributed to the housing prices to rise. Demand shifts due to immigration also caused housing demand to go up because more people were immigrating from other countries and they did need housing. The Yes in My Backyard movement also aims to increase housing supply, therefore improving the supply elasticity, which causes supply to go up, which causes now there to be almost like a neutral level of between supply and demand. In 2008, this financial crisis significantly reduced home construction, which created a persistent housing shortage. Regulatory barriers like zoning laws reduced the elasticity of supply, which made it difficult to increase housing production. Builders now avoid speculative construction, and they prefer pre-sold homes, which also reduces the speed of new supply. Supply elasticity is important because it does respond to the price changes, and slow responses to rising demand also contribute the ongoing shortages of housing. So in 2024, this year has seen the lowest housing turnover in 30 years. The lock-in effect is where homeowners with low mortgage rates are reluctant to sell, which reduces the supply of available homes. Fewer home sales reduce market liquidity and impact regional differences, with markets like in Los Angeles and Boston showing the largest drops. Market frictions and opportunity costs, which means giving up a low mortgage rate for a higher one, affects decision making for sellers, and this connects to the idea of sunk costs. There's also many major constraints facing the housing market. Rising construction costs with material and labor, increase production costs, and they shift the supply curve leftward. Zoning regulations also limit supply elasticity, making it difficult to increase housing production quickly. Lack of vacant costs, which restrict developer activity, relate to this concept and relate to the concept of factor immobility. Fixed resources like land also aren't easily to relocate, and production capacity also constrains affect supply. There are many potential policy solutions that can address the housing crisis. The role of IMBY reforms and zoning changes, and these work to increase housing density and shift the supply curve outward. Efforts to allow duplexes in single-family home zones are also an example of a regulatory reform. Middle-class support programs like down payment assistance from the government as a demand-side intervention, which causes an increase for the ability to pay, shifting the demand curve outward. These solutions relate to the macroeconomic concepts like supply side and demand side policy interventions. For the future of the housing market, the supercycle is likely to continue as a long-term forces like immigration, urban demand, and supply constraints, which are going to remain in play. Expanding construction and increasing supply elasticity are very essential for balancing the market. While policy changes like YMBY reforms could shift the supply curve outward, like we saw in these slides up here, are essential for balancing the market, and increasing supply elasticity are essential for balancing the market as well. Long-run market equilibrium, where supply and demand adjustments eventually balance out, are often only after significant delays.